Welcome, travelers. You found your way to something old, a world forged across decades, filled with ruin and fire, light and redemption. This is more than just a story. It's a memory, a myth, a living echo of something far more ancient than parchment and ink. Across this channel, you'll hear the legends of a broken warrior, of kingdoms and shadows, of battles both within and without. Some truths are hidden, some names must wait to be discovered. But for now, sit close, the flame burns low, for what you hear may very well change you. The Echoes of the Eternal, the Fireside Tales, Part 1. The tavern pulsed with warmth and life, packed shoulder to shoulder with wanderers, mercenaries, farmers, and tools, all seeking a brief reprieve from the cold outside. Firelight danced across the cracked walls, catching the rim of raised mugs and half-dulled blades. The air was thick with smoke, the scent of sweat and spilled ale. A low haze hovered above the patrons' heads like a ghost of old songs and even older regrets. The room swelled with noise. Clinks of tankards, bursts of laughter, the low rumble of half-remembered tales passed between mouths thickened with mead. The patrons spoke freely, loosened by the warmth and drink, trading the names of beasts and heroes with equal parts awe and bravado.
"I swear, I saw a fire wretch near the eastern cliffs. Had a maw like a furnace,"
one man bellowed.
"Nonsense. Everyone knows the fire wretches died out during the Crimson Scour. You probably saw some bard with a torch and a death wish,"
his companion quipped. A younger voice cut in. "What about that knight from the Flooded Isles? The one who fought off the dredge wolves with just a broken shield and a fishing spear?" Another chimed in.
"I heard he still wanders the river paths, carrying the bones of his brothers. They say the water sings when he walks by."
There were chuckles, scoffs, the sharp clack of dice across wood, and behind it all, a mounting chorus of stories, strange creatures, doomed champions, spirits that whispered in the marsh wind, and blades that glowed when kingdoms fell. And yet, in one unlit corner, where the fire barely reached, sat a man alone. He was old, not the fragile kind, but the kind weathered by storms with names and scars that had their own stories. His frame, though bowed with time, still held the quiet tension of someone who had endured through much hardship. Beneath a patched, travel-worn cloak, his shoulders remained broad. A warrior's build not broken from age, but softened by it. His right hand rested near his mug, fingers calloused and twisted with ancient burn scars, two missing at the tips, as if some time had tried to take pieces of him and failed. The skin along his jaw bore an old, jagged mark that faded into a short, graying beard, and though his eyes never lifted to meet the crowd, when he spoke, there was something in his voice, not just weight, but memory.
"You've all heard of the Brezekian, haven't you?"
he asked, not loud, but the question cut clean through the tavern, sharper than any boast, and it stilled the air like a sudden gust against flame. A few heads turned. A younger man at the bar laughed.
"The Brezekian? Do you mean the initiate? Pfft, nothing more than a legend."
Another voice chimed in from a table nearby, older, skeptical.
"I heard he once stood alone against 100 mercenaries. That's just tavern talk. No man could do that. It is said he pulled a dying soldier from a burning siege tower, all while holding the line single-handed. Madness."
A merchant leaned forward, grinning.
"Wasn't there some tale where he caught an orc's axe with his bare hands? Come now, that's just the kind of tale drunk men tell to feel brave."
A woman near the hearth added,
My grandmother used to say he once walked through a blizzard of fire to save a child no bigger than a loaf of bread. Nonsense. Fairy tales.
A few patrons laughed. Some raised their mugs in mock salute. One man muttered something about ghosts and children's stories, louder than he needed to. But not everyone laughed. A pair of older men near the window exchanged glances. One tilted his head slightly, listening. Chairs scraped the floor as more patrons turned toward the old man. Murmurs rose and fell like flickers of wind. He didn't even look at them. He only muttered,
"Those are some of the tales, but I'll tell you the truth of 'em."
The barkeep paused mid-cleaning, eyes flicking toward the darkened corner. He said nothing, but he didn't resume wiping the counter either. His eyes flicked toward the fire. The crackling light caught the edge of an old scar running down his jaw, and for a moment his expression turned distant.
"He wasn't a god, not some immortal souled saint sent by the heavens. He was just a man, far more broken than most ever knew."
The wind outside began to howl faintly. It brushed against the shutters with thin, searching fingers. The fire in the hearth flickered lower, its light casting long shadows behind the storyteller, as if the room itself leaned in. A chair creaked across the floor. No one dared interrupt. The tavern's rhythm slowed, the clinking of mugs quieter now, the laughter dimmer. The storyteller leaned forward, elbows resting on the scarred table. Shadows behind him stretched deeper, listening.
"He was not born a legend,"
the storyteller said, his tone shifting, not mournful now, but resolute.
"He was born in a different world, one named Oath Rain. Not to nobility, nor to power. Just a boy, bound in blood and fire to a life he never asked for. His people, his land, gone before he had a chance to choose. That loss carved him into something the world could not unmake. He did not seek greatness. It found him, in ruin, in duty, and in pain. And every title he bore, Brezekian, Eternal Initiate, the Storm of Arkenfell, he bore like a weight, not a crown. They thought him fearless, but he feared much. He feared failing those who depended on him, feared becoming what his own soul claimed him as, a tool, a ghost, a traitor. But he walked forward anyway, always forward, not because he believed he could win, but because stopping meant others would fall, and that was something he could never allow. In battle, he was the tempest. In silence, he was stone. And in pain, he remained standing. He hated himself, the old man continued, believed he was unworthy of every breath he drew. Every time he fought, every time he bled, it wasn't to be a hero. It was because he believed he deserved to die. That was his punishment, his price.
A voice scoffed.
"How could a man like that think himself worthless? He helped shape the world, built kingdoms with blood and fire. He stood beside kings. They say the rivers of Arkenfell flow straighter because of him."
The old man let the comments pass. He nodded slightly.
"And yet," he said quietly, None of that changed how he saw himself. But he couldn't give in, he added, shaking his head. Something deep inside him, something tied to his brotherhood no one else saw, refused to let him fall, refused to let him fail. So he branded himself a traitor, called himself worthless, but he swore he would never be useless.
He traced the rim of his mug with a scarred finger, his voice soft.
He stepped into battles he wasn't meant to survive, and every time he was left standing, he'd curse it. Not because he wanted glory, but because death never came. Not yet.
The fire popped. The old man added, in a voice threaded with awe and sorrow.
His strength was not from his magics. It was from his endurance, the kind that doesn't shine, doesn't roar, but from refusal to give in.
His fingers brushed the center of his chest beneath his cloak, searching for something invisible. His hands moved to his drink, tightening not in anger, but of memories resurfacing. A mercenary scoffed, hand clenched too tightly on his mug. Another man stared into the fire, something long buried stirring behind his eyes.
But even he couldn't have lasted alone.
The old man's gaze went distant.
3 souls walked beside him, not followers, lifelines, anchors.
He raised 3 fingers.
1 showed him that blood isn't the only bond, that loyalty can be reborn. Another mended more than bones, made him realize he did not have to carry the burdens of all alone. The last, she brought him back from the brink, gave him something he never sought and never knew he needed, something that taught him there is more to life than his pain, anchoring him to a new hope, to this very land.
His voice faltered, just for a breath. He looked away, eyes catching a flicker in the fire, as if it had shown him something only he could see.
Through her, he found a reason to stay, to live, and through what she gave him, he began his journey in being made whole. They were the brother, the sister, the princess.
Silence took the tavern, not confusion, recognition. Someone near the door crossed their hands over their chest in mourning. A soldier lowered his mug. A cloaked woman whispered a prayer. Even the barkeep froze. When the title of princess fell into the room, the very wind outside stopped. No one laughed now. The first princess, the flame of Arkenfell, the queen eternal. No one in the tavern dared speak the name in jest aloud. The old man smiled faintly, not with pride, but remembrance.
Without them, there would be no eternal initiate, no Brezekian, no legends.
His fingers brushed the silver thread beneath his cloak, a touch both habitual and mournful.
You think his strength came from blood?
He stopped, jaw tightened, a thought almost spoken.
It did not. It came from those who lifted him up, who believed in him, and when he was unable to finish a task, someone else would in his stead, because he made them believe, made them see they could. That is the truth of the Brezekian.
The fire snapped. His voice dropped, cold.
None were able to stand against the eternal initiate, because when they faced him, they were not fighting just one man.
He took a slow drink and set the mug down.
They were fighting the will of every soul who ever believed in him.
No one moved. No one spoke. Even the fire held its breath, flames ebbing. The breeze returned, slipping through the cracked door, carrying the cold of winter, and with it, the weight of memory. And with that, his attention went back to the drink in front of him. The tavern remained silent, and the legend lingered like the haze of pipe smoke that had enveloped the tavern. End of tale. To be continued. What you heard was only one thread. There are others, hidden in shadow, whispered by the wind, waiting for the right soul to listen. Until then, remember the fire.